It's clear to me how many people are not aware of the accomplishments of queer people. I mean, most people are kind of struggling with their daily existence and not thinking about the trailblazers who've helped us just kind of live.
Our history was erased, and how important it is to find whatever monuments there are to our history and to preserve them. And it's not an easy job, because I think there was a real program to pretend we didn't exist, to not dignify us with anything like a history.
It's a very loving act to do a rubbing, to first clear off the marker itself and just spend time with it. Rubbing a marker is a meditation. In a way, the gay rub is how we honor the people in our gay family, in our queer history.
I came out as a teenager in 1956, and we had no history. It was as though we were the first generation ever to be lesbian or gay, as far as we knew, because we weren't dignified with a history. I remember going to the library to find out more about lesbians in history. Practically nothing existed.
I think there's a hunger for LGBT history. I see it in my classes, even my sort of standard US history classes. Whenever something comes up about sexuality at all, or about gay and lesbian people, students are fascinated by it because they haven't heard it before.
Things had opened up, but they opened up only because historians forced that. Historians forced the opening up of that material. But there are many places where we still don't have access to that material.
I came up with the idea of the gay rub when I was informed that a marker near my house in West Hollywood was the first plaque dedicated to transgender victims of hate crimes. And I was really touched to see that this was in my neighborhood, and I wondered, if this is the first, how many others are out there like that? What if I started collecting rubbings of them? I started doing a few rubbings with charcoal, and then I realized how it doesn't transport easily. So I chose just crayon, which is how most of us started doing rubbings in elementary school. When I created the website, thegayrub.com, I had a long list of markers that I knew existed. So I did a lot of research, hours and hours of research about markers and what cities that they're in. After the website was up, I had historians contacting me, letting me know that the list I created was the only list of its kind.
A lot of efforts in terms of commemorating LGBT history has been local. In New York, right, or San Francisco, or Los Angeles, there's markers and there's communities that are involved in commemorating our history. I think the great thing about the gay rub is that it takes these markers of LGBT lives and events and brings them together in one place.
When our producers put this in front of us, I mean, it says what? What does this say?
The gay rub.
Thank you.
which could be taken
Oh my God.
in many, many
Well,
ways.
I mean, I used to know of only one way until this came up.
Really? Only one way. Only one way.
Right.
If you're expecting an NPR interview around this, you were in the wrong studio.
The name the gay rub is purposefully evocative. There are lots of different connotations to the word rubbing. At one point in time, it meant the truth, meaning, that's the rub, or social friction. For instance, he got a lot of rub for that.
Right.
And of course, for millennials, there's the sexual connotation. Rub also means to erase something. And I felt like that was really important. I feel like as queer people, we've been kind of erased and rubbed out of history. So the gay rub was, in an effort to combat that. I was also so pleased that the website was available. I was surprised that, a massage therapist didn't take it already. But yeah, it's definitely, the name has gotten the project a lot of attention. So it also means I'm spending a lot of time in cemeteries, which is something that I didn't expect. I've really witnessed how people grieve and the different ways that people grieve. That there have been a lot of Sunday mornings where I'm doing rubbings and there are other people who are just reading the paper next to a grave site. I've literally seen someone pour one out, like opening up a beer and pouring one out. And though all of it is so foreign to me and how I grew up, at the same time, it all seems to make sense. That's how they're honoring their loved ones. I wanted it to be a participatory project where I was asking other people to contribute. One, because I can't go to all these locations, but also I wanted people to interact with the markers in their hometown or in the places that they visit or vacation.
I knew that the One Archives was going to feature the gay rub, and I remember thinking, wow, this is really fabulous. This is about time. Because one thing that it could do is take these artifacts from foreign countries and present them as these rubbings to people who will never get to Paris or Greece or wherever. So it's a brilliant idea, really.
The other nice thing about the gay rub is that it highlights famous people in some ways, famous writers or politicians, but also more obscure people, and brings them some recognition.
Edward Carpenter says that if there's any evidence at all that someone is queer, that they probably were. Just because for that evidence to even be acknowledged throughout history, that maybe that's enough. And there are people in the gay rub that have been questioned. The two that come to mind right away would be James Dean. Another is Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt, really? And then I can't help but think that it could be my own internalized homophobia that's questioning, why wouldn't they be? There are letters that Eleanor Roosevelt, there's a correspondence that would raise some eyebrows and some questioning. Same with Gandhi, that's another one. And these people might have had kind of a romantic vernacular and a way of communicating, but I do find them suspect.
You also have a rubbing of PFLAG founder Jean Manford. Why did you want to commemorate her landmark?
I really love Jean Manford's story that her son had an altercation with the police and she was displeased with how he was treated. And she wrote a letter to the New York Post, and in it she stated, my son's a homosexual and I love him. And that now seems so common, but at the time it was revolutionary. And then 2 months later, she marched in the Gay Pride Parade in New York with a sign that said, "Parents of gays and lesbians unite." One person I think about is Franklin Pangborn, who was a old Hollywood actor and who played the effete waiter. And I wasn't really enthusiastic about doing his rubbing, but because I felt like, his whole career was built on, strengthening, a negative stereotype.
I'd advise you to stop talking to Miss Baker and pay a little more attention to your work.
All right, Egbert. I'll do that. If you do a favor for me.
Well, what is it?
Fix your wig. It's crooked.
Oh, really?
But it was when doing the rubbing and recognizing that he was buried with his family, he wasn't buried with a partner, my heart really softened for him. And I started thinking about how there was no separation between what audiences were laughing at and who he actually was in the world. What means the most to me in the collection is the inclusion of victims of hate crimes and the plaques and markers for those, whether there's one in Texas or in San Diego or in Massachusetts. What would the world have been like if they were here with us? And, the public and the world mourned Matthew Shepard, although he's not the only one. There are so many. And here in the Gay Rub, these people are kind of living on the walls, and people are being educated about these lives, and we don't know what would have become of them. But they were cut short, and so I like that they get to live on a little bit longer through this project.
One of the important reasons why we need to study LGBT history is that there's a message of activism there, and it's one we're going to need, right, going forward. It's not just a progressive narrative that everything is getting better and better, that periods of increasing rights and visibility for LGBT people often leads to a period of backlash and repression. And we may be seeing that today.
The Gay Rub probably has about 300 rubbings as right now. I'm forever learning about new plaques that I include on the website, and I encourage people to visit the website to see what markers are in their town, or if they're traveling somewhere and want to do a rubbing. The Gay Rub is not only a collection of rubbings from around the world, but also thankfully the exhibition has traveled around the country. The exhibition has also been shown at universities where people are considerably younger than myself, and so it's opening up a whole new world to them and introducing them to names and people that they might not have heard of otherwise.
I think particularly it's important for young people to know that they're not alone. They're not inventing this. It happened throughout history, that people have loved people of the same sex, or that there has always been sexual and gender diversity. And I think that history needs to be told.
My intent is for this project to keep going, because there are new markers and it's a very big world, that I feel like it's a project that can keep going, that it might be inexhaustible. I want to remind everyone that we're a people of great accomplishment, that our lives are worthy of being pressed into bronze or etched into stone. We deserve that recognition. I want the Gay Rub collection to keep growing and entertaining and educating, but most of all, I want it to empower and create a sense of pride.